Hi folks, and welcome to our first video on narrative and narration. In the last few units, we've been looking at elements of film form, but now instead of looking at kind of visual and auditory components of form, we're going to look at narration itself as an element of form. The first concept that I want you to understand is a pair of terms called plot and story. So what's the difference between plot and story? These are two terms we often use interchangeably, but we're going to use them conceptually and they have an important difference. So when I say plot, I mean all the events that are directly presented to us, including their causal relations, their chronological order, duration, frequency, and spatial locations. On the other hand, story includes or implies the viewer's imaginary construction of all the events and the narrative. It includes both actions and events that we see, but also ones that we don't see, those that we only infer. So let me give you an example of this. This might be a bit confusing at first. So remember Gravity? That was a film whose plot took place in space. But remember that there were things alluded to in the film that didn't take place in space. They took place on Earth in the past of our story. For example, the main character's daughter's death.
She was at school playing tag, slipped, hit her head, and that was it.
That was an early story event, not an element of the plot. Because the film did not show the daughter's death, but merely showed the recounting of the event of the daughter's death, we could call that part of the story world, but not part of the plot, which very much revolves around Sandra Bullock trying to survive. In a similar way, let's take an instance from Moonlight, right? For example, Chiron's transformation in prison. It's a significant part of the story, right? It's a significant set of inferred story events, given that we see the teenage Chiron go away in a police car, and then we hear that he spent a number of years in prison, and he's physically and emotionally transformed at the end of the film. But his transformation of years in prison was not part of the plot of the film because it wasn't shown to us. It was merely part of the story world. Right? So narration is the process through which the plot conveys or withholds story information. The narration can be more or less restricted to character knowledge and more or less deep in presenting characters' mental perceptions and thoughts. Now, one way to kind of remember the concrete difference between plot and story is that they map onto two very important terms for this course: form and content. Remember, form is the stuff that is literally there, and content is the kind of translation of that stuff into, say, the language of events or depictions, right? But here, plot, once again, is the stuff that we see in the film. Story is the stuff that is kind of inferred or implied.